it's not.
Oh, we are rolling.
Cool. All right.
Well, I'll wait until you're good. How's the color and everything?
Everything looks popping, man.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes, sir. Y'all look great.
Thank you.
Nice. Thank you. Well, did you hear about the craziness that happened
What happened?
at the 89ers?
Yeah,
thing?
dude, I heard about. Well, okay, so shit started going off while we were there, and there was like a bunch of ambulances.
You were there when that
Yeah,
happened?
Yeah, it was like right when the parade ended.
Yeah.
So like a bunch of like ambulances and stuff were like going crazy, but it was funny because like the parade had just went through and like 20 ambulances and like police cars and shit had just went through. So like nobody was moving. They were just like, oh, this is a part of the thing. And I'm like, oh, apparently someone got stabbed over there. I was like, I want to go check on that. Like,
Yeah, all the ambulances doing U-turns. Like,
So I
oh
was like,
shit, we got something to do.
yeah. So I was like, okay. And then we didn't find out until later. We got home and then Anne Marie was like, oh yeah, somebody got like messed up over there. Like it was crazy. I was like, oh God, we left. So
Dude,
got some mess.
it was wild. It was wild. Rod, did you say we're rolling?
Yes, sir.
Oh, sweet. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Kirio House podcast. I got my friend RJ Bonner back on the show.
Yes.
We wanted to come out and do some chatting. There's been a lot happening with interest rates lately. It is very lately.
It's greatly.
Lately, there's been a lot happening with interest rates. You closed on your house back in November, right?
Yeah, it was November.
Like
Yes.
first week in November.
Yeah, it was November. Yep.
And you got in at that time. Like you got a solid rate.
Yeah, it was like 3.5.
3.5.
Yeah, like right around there.
That's pretty good, man.
Yeah.
And now the national average is 5.3.
Yeah.
So we were just talking about this, but what that does to, like, if he were to buy his house today, your payment would be like $245 higher.
And
That
like,
just from buying it 4 months later.
and that's like
5
a
months later.
huge life choice for people, you know, like 'cause
Yeah.
especially like what we're going through right now, and like, you know, $240, like that's something like I might not be able to do that, and you know that might be the house that you want,
Dude, that's
but,
like that's could be a big part of a car payment,
yeah,
or like your insurance, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of money.
that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, that's changing people's lives. I mean,
Yeah.
totally, that's crazy.
And I think it's going to affect the housing market a little bit. But a lot of people are talking about bubbles,
Yeah,
housing bubbles and everything. But I don't think we're in like a bubble.
yeah, I don't think so.
No.
I think it's gonna remain a seller's market for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Just because we've kind of come to this realization that like through COVID that everybody kind of had to sit at home for a period of time, and then they had to kind of realize like, I don't like where I'm at. I don't like what I'm doing. I don't like the surroundings that I have. So I think everybody kind of had that influx of, if I have the capital and I have the means of getting out of where I am to get where I'm happy, like I want to do that. And so that kind of influences people trying to get houses or trying to take more ownership. And then we're also realizing that like if you're paying rent, you're basically paying somebody else's bills. So
Yes.
that was the big dividing factor for us. Like moving here to Oklahoma, I was like, I'm not about to go rent again when I could be paying my own mortgage and building equity in myself rather than somebody else's. So
Dude, 100%.
yeah,
I heard someone say once that, they were talking about interest rates going up. And they're like, the thing you have to remember is the interest rate on renting is 100%.
yeah, exactly.
And so you could take 5%, 6%. That's still going to be a hell of a lot better than 100%.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
That's what I'm
okay.
like.
I mean, you can't argue with that.
Yeah, honestly, that's what I'm saying. I was like, we rented for 3 years and then wanted to go buy a house, and like we're spending so much money on rent that we didn't have the capital to put forward for the house. So
Yeah.
it's like I would much rather take the chance, go for it, and get our own equity and be able to afford our house than continuously like paying to live in an apartment we don't like.
Yeah.
Then we don't
Well,
influence our
and
neighbors.
even if, exactly. Yeah. You don't like your neighbors. Plus
Yeah.
they're right next,
next
to
to
you.
you.
I mean,
And
you're sharing a
walls.
wall.
Yeah, exactly.
But even I think if you're paying a little bit more to own your house than you would for rent, at least you're paying into something that, like you said, you
yours.
own.
Yeah.
There's equity there. And you always know that, as long as that equity is good, if like a crazy life circumstance changed, you could pull money out of the
Yeah.
house and
Exactly.
you have options.
Yeah,
If
and
you're
you
renting,
also have
you
the
don't.
ability to upgrade your house. Like YouTube University is completely free. Like you can go learn how to do anything to your house that you want to do to your house to increase the value of it. And you have people that can teach you on YouTube University how to do it cheaply.
100%.
Yeah.
I hear people talk about YouTube University all the time, but is there actually a YouTube University
it's
thing?
straight
Okay, it's just YouTube. Yeah.
Because I mean, you can learn anything on YouTube. Yeah,
That's what I
straight up.
thought. That was
Yeah.
actually a big, man, I absorbed YouTube voraciously when I was getting into real estate. It was just
Yeah.
like learning about the housing markets, learning about laws and rules and things you can and can't do.
Yeah.
And, things that I would need to do to succeed as a real estate agent.
Exactly.
Dude,
Yeah, and there's people out there doing it.
100%.
Yeah.
And you kind of like philosophically, you think about some of these quotes where people are, they're like, hey, if you're trying to do something like that is success driven, or you're trying to succeed in some area, don't recreate the wheel.
Yeah.
Success leaves clues, and so you look at the people that are doing now what it is you want to do,
Yeah.
and then you just find out what they did to get there and do those things.
Exactly.
You just
Yeah.
reverse engineer what they did.
You really don't have to do it. I mean, like, again, like even if there's multiple stores out there that sell the same good, as long as you're providing quality service and selling those same good, you're going to get customers. It's not a matter of like reinventing the wheel, coming up with some new thing, because people are constantly inventing new things. But
Yeah.
do you ever hear about them? No, because people keep using what's convenient.
Touche.
Yeah.
Touche. I was just listening to something this morning, and these guys were talking about building a business to take basically to cash out on equity. So like they're building a business to scale and then sell to like a company that acquires smaller companies. And so they were talking about different strategies. And one of the things that I took from that was they were talking about how to double down on niching. And they were like, a lot of these online marketers or online businesses, they want to take whatever their existing, say they've got 10,000 customers in their database. And they think like, well, it's, it's so hard to go get more customers. It's going to be, it's going to take a long time. It's going to be really hard. It's going to cost a lot of money to double that 10,000 and get to 20,000. So let me just expand my product base and sell those 10,000 people more things.
Yeah, exactly.
And which sounds smart because you're going to increase your top line revenue.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't make the company as valuable in the long run to like an acquisitions company or like a parent brand that's going to come in and buy your company.
For sure.
So the idea, I guess, of like doubling down on your niche, I guess it's smart.
It's like a double-edged sword.
It's harder.
Yeah.
Takes longer. But they gave an example. This one lady that had an online business, and they basically did accounting and bookkeeping for parents that had nannies. And so they basically like took care of paying the nanny, took care of like the nanny's time, her health insurance, all this stuff. They managed all of that.
That's really cool.
Yeah, kind of an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Well, she got to, I think they said she was doing like 3 million in revenue, her and one other employee. So it was just the two of them, 3 million in revenue. And she was like, I want to take this to the next level. And she was thinking about adding in ancillary services like, hey, we'll also take care of having your like your lawn done or house cleaning or, all these other services. Yeah. And then she was like, you know what, I want to stick with this. And so she kind of chose the long route, but she stuck with the idea that she's going to market the payroll and like services for nannies, or rather for parents that have nannies. Well, she ended up like pushing through that wall that she was facing. And she ended up selling her business to care.com. She was doing 19 million in revenue annually when she sold it, and she sold it for 54 million.
Jesus.
And I'm like, that's how it's done.
Yeah.
So niching.
Yeah. That's taking a gamble in yourself. And I guess, being able to grow that base, increase your cart count, like, or, your item cart count basically, and getting that dollar amount up per transaction. Yeah. And if you can get
that and bringing new customers
and bringing new customers in. Yeah. I was like, if you don't have the affordability, and then I guess like too, in my opinion, if you're going to go niche, you're really going to try to, get yourself to a niche where until you're a cult following, like until you have that established base that they're not going to go anywhere to get something else. They're going to want your product.
How do you get a cult following?
That's a curious. I
guess for a business.
Yeah, I would guess that would be something along the lines. I'm trying to think of a business that has a cult following. People just go to it regardless if it's good or not.
I can think of one. Well, and I think it is a good business. But the first thing that comes to mind when you said that was Quest Nutrition.
Okay, yeah, all right, that's not about.
So, and I just know about it because I follow this guy on YouTube, Tom Bilyeu. His company is called Quest, and he also has the show on YouTube called Impact Theory. I think he also does like conversations with Tom, but it's all mindset stuff. He talks to very high performing people, business owners, entrepreneurs. And it's very similar to something that like Tony Robbins would do.
Yeah, for sure.
They want to talk to you, understand how you got to where you are, and then, absorb the decades of experience that you have in, minutes, essentially.
Right.
But he talked about his company and how they got to be. I think at one point they were growing at like 1,733% annually,
That's crazy.
which is wild.
Wow.
They were labeled a unicorn company. They were like the second fastest growing company in the world at one point. They just blew up.
That's
But
crazy.
the way they did it was they built a community. So I guess early on, I think he said this was like 2009 or 11 or something.
Mm-hmm.
He saw the power in Facebook, and Facebook was still growing. It wasn't what it is today.
Right.
But he said he saw its ability to bring people together
Yeah.
and allow them to interact with a brand.
Yeah.
And so he was like, well, let me build a community. And so his vision was he had a morbidly obese family. His mom and sister were, big, very unhealthy. And he wanted something like a protein bar that would taste good and would be healthy for them, that they could snack on to get the
Right.
fix, the sweet tooth fix.
Right.
And so that was sort of his driving motivation. And I guess he was just able to build a community around that vision.
Yeah.
And, now the company, I think he said it does like, I don't want to misquote, but it's in the billions of
I'm
dollars
sure.
of
That's
revenue a year.
everywhere, dude.
Yeah.
And they're also doing more than just like bars now. Like they're doing whole like nutritional like programs and stuff like that. Like,
Are they?
Crazy. Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, they're like that's crazy. I mean, another one that I think of is like my previous employer, like HEB down in Texas. Like that's a cult following if I've ever heard one myself. Like
What is HEB?
so the actual name of the country is Howard Edward Butt, and that's just the name of like the family that started it.
Okay.
And it's still family owned, but as far as like HEB is like only in Central and South Texas, so it's only in Austin, Houston, the border, El Paso, like out there, and then like Corpus, where I'm from. But people don't go anywhere else. Like HEB has a
What's their product? Like,
they're just like
what are
they're like a high end grocery store. So like,
Oh.
but they sell like regular stuff too. So it's not like it's just a total grocery store. They have
Okay.
like a commanding like 88% market share in Austin. They have
Whoa.
they have like a 60% market share in Houston. They've only been in Houston like 5 years. So it's like as soon as they go into anywhere in Texas, they basically their motto is. I don't misquote it, but I haven't been there in a while. But it's but it's like building Texas stronger, or like Texans helping Texans is what it is. So it's like they basically push off of that. Texans helping Texans. We're Texans. We're Texas owned. Like we're gonna be here for you.
Okay.
We're here. Like if anything happens in Texas, we're adding like we're doing support, relief, whatever. But in turn, Texans go there. They don't go anywhere else. They don't anywhere else.
Yeah.
So like that's that cult following. Like
Yeah.
you never know there. You already know the HEB isn't going anywhere as long as there's Texans.
And so they did that by almost like branding themselves as well, and it was smart, saying like, hey, we're by Texans, for Texans, or for Texans, by Texans, whatever. But any of those people that associate themselves as, hey, I'm a Texan,
I got to go here.
they connect the dots.
Exactly.
That's smart.
Well, and then they also do, so they do a lot of, and I'm not even gonna hate on them and say like they don't, like they do a lot of philanthropic stuff. So, like what was the hurricane that happened in Houston that like, I can't remember the name of it, but you know what I'm talking about, the one that messed up Houston recently.
Recently,
probably
yeah.
like 10 years.
No, I was gonna say Sandy. It wasn't
I
Sandy.
can't remember which one it was exactly.
Yeah.
But they were like when everything was shut down, they were the first ones to go in there with like truckloads of stuff, and they didn't even have a lot of stores then. But they were the first grocery store company to open up back their doors with minimal amount of capacity, like a minimum amount of product, and just give people stuff, have stuff for people to buy.
That's cool.
And they weren't even very prevalent in Houston at that time, and that's when the market share just like went from nothing all the way to like 60%, and they just never let it go. Then they doubled down on that.
Came in when people need it.
Yeah, and then they doubled down on that Texas helping. They changed their entire motto after that to Texans helping Texans.
Smart.
And then, and then it just blew up from there. And then like now they're expanding into Dallas and taking market share in Dallas. And they have multiple niches. So they actually have like the HEB brand stores. Then they also have like a Whole Food brand store. And they started first by sending like their Whole Foods brand stores into Dallas first. So people got like accustomed to like the nicer stuff that they have. And then they're going to start adding in the new regular stores now. It's a really smart marketing strategy.
Totally.
Yeah, they're really smart.
Is a lot of that higher end kind of thing really just becoming commonplace in places like Dallas and Austin and Houston?
Yeah, it's really growing crazy. I mean,
like you would see in LA.
Yeah,
you know?
no, like Austin for sure.
Yeah.
Honestly, like like I told you about like how what our experience was like in Austin trying to buy a house. Like it's ridiculous. And
Well,
we
for
didn't
anyone that
even
doesn't know, like
oh,
what did you
so
guys?
we had lived in Austin probably about 3 years, and I'd gotten plenty of promotions, and my wife was working too, so we were doing well enough to try to get a house at this point.
Mhm.
So we went and got approved for our loan, and the loan that we got approved for was $368,000.
Okay.
And we went and started bidding on houses in our area, which is the Buda area, and we bidded on. Well, we basically submitted offers on 8 houses, got turned down on all 8 of them, but on like 4 of those 8, we got outbidded by like 80 grand, and it was like cash offers,
Whoa.
yeah. So people are moving from California and from like other places that are like, you know, where you can get like mass amounts of money for your house,
Mhm.
selling them cash, and then bringing them here, and then bringing that cash to Texas or like these areas,
Yeah.
and then just saying, hey, I'll give you cash way above asking. I just want to live here.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, yeah, what are you gonna do? You're gonna give it to the small family that's giving you a loan, or you're gonna give it to the guy that's giving you 500,000 cash?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
so-
No, it just makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
I just helped a lady that was a cash deal, and it was, I mean, granted, she didn't go over asking,
Yeah.
but she offered the list price
Yeah.
in cash, and so we won the deal.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how much having cash
Oh,
as a
huge.
seller, like it changes everything.
Changes
Because you see a cash offer come in and you're like, okay, I don't have to worry about a lender's underwriting. I don't have to worry about an appraisal gap. We got this, got that. Screw it. Let's do it.
And even that, like, you know, I say we got outbidded by 80 grand, but it's more or less that, like, you know, multiple people probably got in a bidding war, and and the price got jacked up to that much, like,
Yeah.
because people are, you know, it's not just those people coming in; it's multiple people from all over the place. Like same as here, like, you know, same as people coming from California, Oregon, all those different places. Like it's the same thing there.
Yep.
It's the exact same thing.
Well, and what I'm noticing here is, so like I just did a market report for Edmond, and the median homes or median sale price in Edmond was like 368,000.
Mhm.
But if you look at the average of what was sold in March, the average sales price was 402,000.
Yeah.
And so that tells me that, man, there's a lot of homes being purchased like on the higher end.
Yeah.
You know, 4, 5, 600,000.
Yeah.
Than or maybe just as many as our $250,000 houses.
Yep.
But we were just talking. You were talking about Austin, like the market blowing up there, and people spending or offering 80,000 over list price. It just made me wonder what's going to happen in the next year to two when these tax assessed values catch up to the sales prices. And now people are having to pay maybe 2 times as much in property tax.
Yeah.
Like what happens when your property taxes go from $4,000 a year to $8,000 or $9,000 a year,
Yeah.
just because the price of your property?
No, you're exactly right. Yeah. That's really interesting. Yeah.
I bet there's a lot of people that aren't going to be able to afford to keep the houses.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Man.
Yeah. I mean, I have a couple of people that I know of that have lived in Austin for like a good amount of time. Like they grew up in Austin and they're Austinites. Like they lived in like, because I mean, Austin is relatively blown up pretty quickly. So if you've lived in Austin for about 20 years, then you were able to get a house for nothing and you could have lived relatively close to the city. So I have people that have that live probably 3 miles from downtown. They've had people offer them housing prices in the millions for their house, and they haven't sold it because like this is their family house that they've had for 30, 40, 50 years. And you're again like, what's going to happen when you have to pay taxes on that? When all the houses around you are $1 million plus houses, but it's like their houses aren't even nice, Craig. Like it's not even nice houses. It's literally like houses, and they're offering them some money to like put, you know, Airbnbs on them or something like that on them to renovate the property, to just put it, because it's 3 miles from downtown Austin.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Austin is nuts right now. Yeah.
It kind of blows my mind just thinking about these markets and how they've grown.
Yeah.
And, you know, a part of me understands why people are like, oh, we're in a housing bubble. It's about to burst. You know, we've never seen sales like this. I get that. And I like sympathize with that idea. But at the same time, I think what makes me feel assured that we're not in a housing bubble is one, after 2009, the lenders got a lot more strict with lending guidelines and who could borrow how much. Underwriting guidelines are a lot more stringent. So it's not as easy for you to get a house now. You know, back then you could just say, I make 200 grand a year, and they were like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, now you have to be able to prove that.
Yeah, you really do have to be able to prove it. Yeah, for sure.
I had a guy recently. He's got I think he's 2 kids, maybe 3, but he has savings accounts for each of them, and he just puts a little bit in every couple weeks. and the underwriter wanted statements from those bank accounts, and he's like, no, you can't, that's my
Yeah.
kid's money, it's not mine. And they're like, sorry man,
We need to
it's
know.
income
Yeah.
that you technically have.
Yeah.
And so they made him disclose the bank statements for his 3 kids. I was like, that's kind of screwed up.
Yeah.
I think.
You had to give them everything.
But
It's
yeah,
everything.
yeah, it's wild. But what was I saying? Housing market is not going to blow up because it's people that are in our age groups that are like, millennials or close to it, that are coming to the age of home ownership, and they've been working for, 10, 12, 15 years. They've got decent income, and now they're moving into the housing market, or they're trading up out of their first time home buyer house into something that's, bigger, has more room, and of course costs more.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of the market's being driven by that.
Yeah, I think so too. Because that's kind of like where we were. We were just kind of like, I mean, we had bought a home prior to, but it was with like the help of like, my dad and family prior, like when we had first moved out of college or whatever.
Yeah.
But now like this is our first like actual home that we've bought that ourselves, like we wanted to upgrade to like what we have now to give the boys space to run around and stuff like that. So, and then I see a lot of my friends doing that too, getting out of their first time homes to get bigger homes and that kind of thing too.
How's the house working out for you guys?
I love it.
Yeah.
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 I love it.
What's so you've been in there for about like 5 or 6 months. What have been some of the things that have popped up that, are just home buyer experiences that you maybe didn't expect? Or I know you had to replace a hot water heater.
Yeah, that's about the hot water heater so far. I'm gonna get somebody to come out and look at like the AC, but it's nothing wrong. Everything's been going just fine. And as far as that, like nothing else really. I'm just trying to figure out a lawn guy because I'm trying to figure if I want to cut my own grass or if I want to like get somebody to come
Actually,
do it.
I got a guy for you.
Perfect.
He does
Huge.
my house, and he's super affordable too.
Perfect. That's huge.
And I mean, for you, you've got an acre, which I'm super jealous of.
Yeah.
But he does mine. I've got a 1/4 acre, and he does it for $50.
Oh yeah. Sweet.
So it's, and I'm sure he said 50 is the highest that he charges, or 55 is the highest that he charges. So I bet he could get you a good
I
deal.
love it. Okay.
I'll give you his number.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Yeah.
So I also wanted to ask you, man, how's the business going?
Good, dude. We actually grand opened a couple of weeks ago. So we grand opened on March 28th. And it's been good. It's been good. We've had a lot of traction. We've been making some good sales. A lot of inquiry. A lot of because one of the things that we do is we have R&D services around what we basically what we provide to clients. And like I guess anybody that doesn't know, basically I work for a company that provides equipment to anybody that does cannabis extraction.
Okay.
So we provide all of like our bread and butter is BHO extraction, but we provide
BHO.
So yeah, that's like hydrocarbon extraction. That's like butane, and then butane propane, or like isobutane, or like blends of those two. That's our bread and butter.
Talking some chemistry shit now.
It's a little it gets crazy, but yeah, that's our bread and butter at our company. But we also provide anything you need in order to do like remediation. But we also do like solvent list if you need like help with that. But then
what is some of this? Because this is like I'm in cannabis. I understand a lot of it, but so much of this is over my head. Like, what are these extraction processes?
So pretty much when you have when you're like making any kind of concentrate, if you want to do it through like hydrocarbon extraction, then you have a closed loop system that basically it's all closed in, it's all vacuumed down, so it's at basically like vacuum pressure of 0, and then you basically like soak your like, it's super rudimentary how I'm saying it, so I'm gonna get blasted by like my bosses, but
No,
essentially, so like
that's good though, because you got to be able to explain it to like a 5-year-old, right?
So essentially, like you want to, the way that I like to explain it to people is it's kind of like a French press. So like basically, but instead of that, you're using like butane gas, and you're using pressure to push it through. But essentially, the gas captures all of the good stuff that you want. So it captures all of the terpenes that you want to smoke, the CBD, CBG, CBN, THCA, THC, all that stuff. But then it also brings out like all the fats and waxes and stuff. And there's different processes that you can do that you can change that, but you get that fine product, and that's basically called crude oil at the very first step. And then from there you can start refining it until you get to, the process level that you want it at. And then you can either gram it up and sell it, or you can be like a white label and just produce mad batches and sell that to dispensaries.
Okay. So when you extract this, the product that comes out of it is like Like a sticky oil
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
like a
thing?
super duper hardcore tar. Like
Okay.
it's like I mean, if you're not doing any kind of remediation within your machine and you're just extracting just straight crude oil, then it's gonna be like a super thick dark tar. And
Okay.
then what people can do from it there is they can like they can either winterize it or they can put it through like they'll winterize it and then they'll put it through like a distillation setup and they'll distill it into like distillate, and that's usually what you have in vape carts and stuff like that.
So
Um,
the distillate that you'd have in vape carts
mm.
is like a almost like a watered down version of that.
No, it's a purified version. So it's a more
Oh,
purified version. So
okay.
it's so usually like what happens is like you'll have like I was saying, like when you do the crude oil, you'll get like all these different things in it. So you'll get like the fats, waxes, you'll get like a THCA, you'll get like CBD, CBG, all these different things will be in that.
Hmm.
And then what you can do from there is distillation, basically like alcohol. It distills out the certain compound that you want. So you can basically distill out just straight THCA. You can distill out just straight CBD. Like I've seen them do CBD, CBG, and that's how like the big thing right now is people are making diamonds. So like they'll make
Making diamonds.
yeah, because it's basically the crystalline structure. Like if it's that high of a purity of something, then it'll basically start to combine together because of the crystalline structure of the the purity of the like the I guess the product, and then
Okay.
it'll form into like basically crystals, and then you can get like THC crystals basically by having a high enough purity of your product, and it'll do it by itself. Like a lot of people are doing things to it, like they call it crashing out. But a lot of people like will add like pentane or heptane or something to it, and then they'll put it in a mason jar and tie it off, and then basically as like the pentane or heptane like off gases, it'll create pressure, and pressure forms diamonds. So they'll basically use that to create like bigger THC crystals. But if you just have anything that's a high enough purity and leave it alone for long enough, it'll start to combine and create crystals in its own right. It'll just be
Really?
little, yeah, just be little itty bitty.
Man,
That's why like if you see like different concentrates, like there's a bunch of different concentrates now, but like resins and sugars and stuff like that, yeah, it's just
I'm sorry.
you're
We're
fine.
gonna pause for just a second. I'm gonna ask my wife to bring the dogs in because they're out there.
Oh, they're yes.
Sorry.
No, you are fine.
Okay. So man, that's super cool. And you were talking about like taking the crystals and
Mhm.
like making diamonds. But what's the like the purpose behind this? Is it for consumption,
Yeah.
or so people were just like, hey, this is a cool way to like
It's a
make cannabis?
exactly. It's the
Okay.
same thing as like back in the day when people would make cross joints, or like they would smoke out of an apple, or they would do something. It's just a gimmick.
So all of this stuff is really just
It's science. It's
like
chemistry.
continuous evolution.
Yeah, it's
Like they're
chemistry.
just
Yeah.
looking for a new way to
Yeah.
do it.
And see, this is the thing that's so cool with like this, in my opinion, this is the thing that's so cool with this industry right now and dealing with the extractors is that all these people are like, if you're doing everything right, you should be licensed and everything should be square with like OMA and like the Liquid Petroleum Gas Board and all that. But regardless, people all around the country are doing these things in different labs, and all of these people are potentially have the ability to make cutting edge like revolutionary type things in their lab. So it's like you might be able to take that step and be able to create a whole new process that changes everything because the cannabis industry and how they're refining their stuff is like rapidly changing. It's rapidly changing. So one
What
person might be able to change everything.
I'm just curious, but is that change happening out of necessity or just because they're exploring the industry? And I guess what I'm trying to get at is, are they looking for new products to sell because like the margins on flour and can or extracts and edibles are like they've come down so much that are they looking for something new that they can market at a higher price or make more money on, or is it simply like a bunch of kind of stoners saying like I want to explore, I want to
No,
see what we can
so
do?
it's kind of a three-way thing. So it's kind of those two things, but then it's also coming to like the refined purity of like the actual aspect of smoking. Because
Okay.
as you remediate more, there's and you have to go through like different testing because you have to go through testing. You have to test all of your stuff to make sure it can even get to the shelf of a dispensary. So like there's different things that people are figuring out how to do that can basically remediate the products so it doesn't have like heavy metals in it, pesticides in it. Then you also have like it's kind of like tailored choicing things to what you want, because some dispensaries like, oh, I want it to be a certain color, or I want it to be a certain kind of consistency, so you can remediate it. But a lot of the chemistry is being born out of that remediation, so a lot of the understanding is coming out of how do we bleach this oil, but how do we bleach this oil to keep it safe for consumption? How do we make it to where we can bleach this oil but continue to remain like a good amount of terpenes so it still tastes good, rather than it tasting like nothing? Because like, if you have distillate, it's not going to taste like anything because there's nothing in it except for THC. So it's like, if you're smoking flower, you're getting all those different flavors and tastes and stuff because you're just basically taking raw terpenes and stuff like that and igniting it or whatever. But even like with BHO, there's still going to be some terpenes in there. There's still going to be some flavor in there, but you can remediate it all the way to the point where there's nothing. So it's kind of that pick and choose.
Okay. So when you're remediating it, you're essentially purifying it.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
And oil remediation isn't new. They've been bleaching oils since like corn oil and all that. Like, it's agricultural. It's not like something that we invented.
So was this stuff going on in some of these other markets prior to it hitting Oklahoma? Or okay,
yeah,
so it was already happening.
Yeah, this is happening. Yeah, this is stuff that's kind of basically like, this is stuff that's been happening out in California and things like that. And then as Oklahoma has stepped into the forefront of like cannabis production and like concentrate production, a lot of people from California are coming this way. A lot of people from other places are coming this way, but a lot of knowledge isn't here yet. So that's a lot of the things like we've come to find is that like, people are so willing to learn here. We've also met some people that aren't. So, it's kind of how you want to take it. But, a lot of people here are very interested in learning the right way to do it, that kind of thing.
And I've also found that, like I'll give props to some Oklahoma folks. They like, this is how it is in film, at least. The people that have been working in film since, I call it like ground zero, which is like, circa 2008, 2010, they are so much more willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done, just because they've had to like fight and scrap. And they were, working on these tiny little shows where it wasn't compartmentalized and like you had a line and you stayed in it, or a lane and you stayed in it. It was more like, hey, I see you're struggling over there. You need some help, and you just kind of jump over and help folks, and you learn, you like cross train, learn new things. What we're seeing now in film, and thankfully I still kind of have an eye in it because Jen, works in it, and but we see a lot of these newer kids. I say kids because they're young, early 20s. They're coming in and they like get fortunate enough to jump on their first show is like a big union show, multi-million-dollar feature film or a TV series or something, and they start seeing how it works on a unionized film project. And they're like, okay, so all I have to do is this, and I'm going to get paid, $26, $30 an hour. And they're so rigid and unwilling to like help out this person, or this person, or to do this job or that job, because they're like, that's not my job. My job is this. But, you've got people like Jen that have been doing it for a long time. And, she's really respected in the film community. But the reason is because she knows she has all the answers because she's worked in so many different places. And she's also willing to, like, if there's something tough that needs to be done, whether it's tough because of a deadline or it's just tough because it's a ton of volume in terms of work or whatever it is, she's just gonna be like, well, shit, it has to get done. So
get done. Exactly.
Let's do it. She's not gonna sit and like sulk and like, man, why is this happening? It's such, this bullshit that I have to do this and that and that. You just do it. Just do it. But so many people right now are stuck in that mindset. And actually, now that I think about it, this happens in every industry. Real estate, everything.
Everything.
But you're just like, that's not my lane. That's not my job. I don't do that.
No.
And I think that's like one of the biggest things that will kill someone's ability to like matriculate to the top of any field.
Anything.
You have to be willing to do it.
You have
and
to
just
be willing
start.
to do it and jump in, learn.
I
was like, everything starts somewhere. Like, that's one of the things that I was talking to my wife about this the other day. I was like, we so tell ourselves nowadays that, I'm so scared to start a hobby. I'm so scared to start this. I'm so scared to start that. And I'm like, I mean, you see somebody that's been doing it for 20, 30 years. That person started somewhere. So if you start and you go for that 20 years, you'll be doing what they're doing. It's just a matter of you have to start. If you don't start, you don't ever get anywhere.
Well, and you get stuck in the trap of comparison.
Yeah.
Right?
Man, that's
because
bad.
you start
Yeah.
looking at, like, for instance, if I'm thinking about the podcast, and I might see another podcast pop up on YouTube that's real estate related or otherwise. And I'm like, man, they've got, 150,000 subscribers and this video got 500,000 views or whatever it is. And I'm like, why am I even doing this? But at the same time, they might've been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And they've, just made the connections
Yeah.
and they've just been doing it long enough that it's working. But yeah, it's with anything, you can't compare yourself to someone else that's been in it longer or has, wildly different circumstances than you do.
Yeah.
You just start where you are with what you have and you do what you can.
Dude, comparison is the demon of social media. Like,
Oh, for
that's
sure.
that's truly where this whole comparison like mindset. Like I basically tell people like social media is everybody's highlight reel. Because you don't see the negative. You don't see the negative. People are never gonna. I mean, unless you have somebody that's a very aware person, they're never gonna put the negative on social media. Very rarely do you see people put the process on social media. Very rarely do you see the negative on social media. All you see is the successes.
That's
All
a
you
good
see is
point.
the trips.
Yeah.
All you see is the fun. All you see, but you don't see the person crying behind the scenes. You don't see the person
Yes.
struggling. You don't see the person thinking, "Is this gonna work?" You don't see the person like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna have enough money tomorrow." All you
Yes.
see is the fun, and it's so crazy to me because we've caught so many, and it's not like but like people get caught taking fake selfies under palm trees in LA to act like, or like a fake palm tree in front of their house to act like they're on vacation somewhere. And I'm like, the clout isn't worth it. I'm like, you don't have, like, it's not worth it. I would much rather you say like, I don't have it and I'm trying to work to get it, than the front and say like, I do have it.
Yeah.
Because you're lying to somebody right there that's struggling every single day, trying not to give up, thinking like, bro, how is this dude on vacation every other week?
Yes.
How is this dude? And you shouldn't be thinking like that. Your race is your race. Life is not a race. It's a marathon. It's like you are running your own particular marathon. It's not anything to do with anyone else.
Yeah.
That's just, I don't get that. That's the one thing I hate about the social media area. That's
Dude.
like the only thing I hate about it.
That resonates so much.
I just
because
don't hate it.
like from my perspective, it's the same thing. Like I'm trying to build a real estate business. And so I want to show off the good stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to, I'm not lying about anything that I post, but I'm also glorifying those things.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about all the other stuff. Like, and it's a really good point. And it makes me think like, man, there's some things that come to mind right away that I should be talking about. Like the $300,000 deal that I lost out on a couple weeks ago. Or man, actually, there's a lot of good stuff. I was talking to this guy who's moving from Bakersfield, California, and he is the 22nd member of his family that's moved from California to Oklahoma.
Wow.
Yeah, they're like his whole family's. It's like this exodus.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and so I was talking with him, and I'm trying to help him find a place out here. And he's talking about his nephew's going to be moving out, and this person's going to be moving out. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, like this could turn out to be like
business,
really
yeah.
good for sales, and great to meet these people and everything.
Totally.
And one morning, I'm like catching up on some emails. I get a phone call from a number I don't recognize, and this guy's on the other line, and he goes, "Hey, I've never had to make this call before, but I know you're working with so and so." And he mentioned that he had got a hold of you somehow, but I've been working with him for a couple weeks now, and I'm selling his sister a house, so I'll be able to take it from here. And I was like, at first I was like, and I was like, I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but and so we kind of had this exchange, went back and forth. But it ended, and so to give you an idea of the work I was doing for this guy, I was actually going around a couple neighborhoods that he was interested in, door knocking, and talking to people to see if they would be interested in like moving, if they've been thinking about selling their house, thinking maybe I can just partner these guys up and help everyone out.
Well, first and foremost, I know how far you go above and beyond for your client. I know personally how far you go. So I can only imagine like what you were doing to help this guy to try to get his whole family over here. I can only imagine. Yeah, truly.
So knocking on these doors, and I find this guy who is interested in having the conversation about selling his house. And that's like the first step is you got to find someone that's open to the conversation. And so then we start talking, and I'm trying to get an idea of why he wants to move. Well, and now the goal is Like he's down to move, but he's got to find the right place, and he's not going to sell the house until he finds the right place. So now I'm like, okay, now I have to find him a place.
Yeah.
And so I'm like jumping through these hoops, trying to find something that works for him, trying to get him pre-qualified. And he wants to be able to buy the other house without having to sell this, which means he needs to qualify
Right.
like income wise for
Completely.
it.
Yeah.
So it's like this big thing. And meanwhile, I'm telling this guy in California what's going on. Hey, you know, so here's the house, here's all the details, this and that. Like, here's what's going on with him trying to find a place. And then I get this guy that calls and says, "Hey, basically, that's my client. You know, yeah, you can't help him." And then he has the balls to say, "But you know, if he's interested in that house, I'd love to represent him in that transaction." And I was like, man, I don't think you understand.
Yeah,
Like, I'm
exactly.
out here, like, literally walking around this neighborhood getting cussed out by people that don't want to see me to try and find this guy a house. And you're saying, "Oh, I'd love to come in and get that commission."
Exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
like, no, man.
No. You crazy? What?
But so I call the guy and I call the client.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, "Hey, just wanted to give you a holler real quick and let you know I got a call from this guy. He claims that he's your agent and basically asked me to, you know, not contact you again and all this." And he's like, "Oh, is that Steve?" And I was like, yeah, Steve. And he's like, "Oh, well, he's not my agent."
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I was like, "Oh, well, he claimed that, you know, he's been working with you for, you know, several weeks and he's helping your whole family and this and that." And he's like, "Listen, I know Steve. He's helping my sister buy a house, but he's like, I have no
Not my sister.
relationship
Yeah,
with
exactly.
this guy." He's like, "I didn't sign any contract. I didn't do anything." And I'm like, "Okay, well, you know, I'm not going to step on any toes. Here's where we're at with this house. You know, if you're interested in working with me, I'd love to take
Yeah.
care of you, button this thing up, do the best I can for you. But I'm sorry, I'm not going to, you know, hand over a sale to this guy
totally.
because he called and
Yeah.
started bitching at me."
Yeah.
And the guy, he's like, "Well, I don't know what to do. This is I think he said unprecedented." And I was like, "Yeah, it is a little
It's a
unprecedented."
little weird. It's a little weird.
And so I told him, I was like, "Listen, you know, I'd love to help you, but if you know, if you choose to buy this house, I'd love if I could earn your business
Yeah, exactly.
and represent you." And at first he was like, "Well, let me call Steve and see what's going on, and you know, this and that." And I'm like, "Okay." And I get off the phone, and or no, before we get off the phone, he asked me, he's like, "Well, you know, worst case scenario, what if you know, we're able to make this house thing work, you know, and just so that we don't cut out Steve, could he represent me since you're representing the seller?" And I'm like, man, because
You were about to say that.
the right thing to do for the client, right, is to say yes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's really hard to talk about giving up that commission
Yeah.
and the relationship,
And you've done the legwork.
because I did all the legwork.
Because you've done the legwork.
All the legwork.
Like, as I'm saying, you're going to let homeboy come in and get. It's like, what?
Like, I didn't see this dude walking around the streets when I was out there, like, knocking on doors. And also, and you know what? Here's the thing. I really wouldn't mind if I didn't have it out for this agent.
If he wasn't a jerk. If he wasn't a jerk.
was a
Thank you.
dick.
If he wasn't a jerk, you would have been like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, dude, no problem."
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he would have approached it in a different way and said, you know, "Hey, I hear you've been really pounding the pavement for this guy. I'm sorry, I had no idea you were working with him. You know, it sounds like you might have something for him. I'd love to partner up with you on this." Or I would have given him a referral fee or
Yeah.
split the deal with him
Yeah.
if he just would have been like nice about it.
People do not realize how far manners take them in this life.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
get it. Like, I don't understand. People get a chip on their shoulder and they're like, and they get that feeling like, I don't have to be mannerable. I don't have to. And I'm like, you don't understand. Like, you have the power in that situation. It's not like you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to bend. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, you're a good real estate agent. It's not like you're going to find somebody else. And then that was something my dad taught me when my dad's an entrepreneur. And that's something he taught me. He was just like, he ran McDonald's for a long period of time. So whenever he would get into it with a customer, he would clearly tell them like, "Hey man, the burger's on my side of the counter. Like, you can drive 5 miles out of your way to go get a burger at another McDonald's, but the burger that you want that's closest to your house is on my side of the counter." So it's like, if you want to get into this argument and whatever, I don't have any problem telling you to go take your business somewhere else because I got 10 other people right behind you that want that same burger.
That's a good way
Like,
to look at it.
I don't Like, I'm not going to argue with one guy when I have a slew of successful clients. Like, I'm not going to do that.
Well, and of course it depends like why the argument's happening.
Yeah,
But if you've got some
exactly.
guy
It's
that's
nothing.
just
Yeah,
he's
if it's
just
nothing.
bitching.
Yeah, if it's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's
totally.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it goes back to you talking about Facebook and the world of comparison
Yeah.
and your highlight reel. And it's such a good point. Like I think I should make an effort to put more of those stories out on Facebook
Yeah.
or on social media rather than just the highlights.
Well, the young real estate agent is going to learn from that. You
That's
know,
true.
somebody's going to learn from that, and they're going to say, maybe like that might have happened to somebody else, and they might not have
Yes.
known how to take it.
Yeah.
And and seeing how you take it, and then go forward, and then you just have the same demeanor. You're happy. You're good. That's going to propel other people forward. That's going to show like, hey, man, that made my week feel much less like the problems that I had this week feel much less insignificant than what he went through this week, and he's still happy.
Yes.
So I don't need to be down on myself. That's why I feel like sharing those negative stories to Facebook, or sharing like anything around like, oh, you're in therapy, or oh, you're doing this, or oh, you're trying to better yourself, or mental health, that stuff. I feel like that can only help another person that may be down on themselves. And you don't lose anything. You don't lose anything. So
That's true. Yeah. You don't lose anything.
you don't lose anything. So,
Man, I love that.
yeah.
That's you kind of inspired me. You gave me some new content ideas.
I'm telling you, man, you don't lose anything, dude. All you're doing is sharing knowledge.
Yeah.
That's it.
And you're also providing value
Yeah.
because there's like you're saying, there's some maybe new real estate agents that like if they were put in that situation, they don't know what they would do.
have no idea.
Or maybe they would just feel like they were obligated to let this agent into the deal.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying no.
No. Yeah.
No,
I mean,
it
I can
doesn't
tell
work
you
like
right now, I wish I would have had the wherewithal to go and like the first time I bought my car, like I would have wished I would have had somebody that would have like I would watch YouTube videos on how to negotiate and that kind of thing, because I just walked in and took whatever deal they gave me on my first car, versus like being like, I don't want to pay that much. I know I can haggle. I have this much. I have that much.
Yeah.
Like that's the same thing with that. A young real estate agent, they can see that I may not have to take this deal. Like I may not have to do this, and I will be okay. Versus like, because older real estate agents might come at them completely south and be like, well, you'll never do anything else in this again ever, da, 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 da. And it's like, I'm scared. I have to take this deal because I'm scared. Like, seeing somebody that can show you, no, you don't have to, just gives you that much backbone and gives you that much wherewithal to be like, I know my value. I don't have to like settle.
How did you come to that realization? Like, how did you learn, like, I've got value in this world and I'm just going to be true to me. Mm-hmm. Despite what anyone else is saying,
dude,
because that's like, I really respect that mindset.
Yeah.
And it's what I'm trying to develop is like, I have a North Star and I'm just going to keep going that direction.
Yeah.
And eventually like it will work. I know it will. And it seems like you're very much the same way.
It's a couple of things. First and foremost, when I was in college, I don't know how, it just kind of clicked with me. I went to this like business seminar in Chicago, and I watched this lady. We had it was no obligation. We didn't have to go watch anybody. So we were just kind of walking in and out of panels. And I just walked into this random panel, and there was this lady up there, and she had worked at like multiple Fortune 500 companies. She was like worth a buttload, but she was young. She was probably like 35. And she was up on stage, and basically the title of her thing was called Fake It Till You Make It. And she was just like, so often do we have imposter syndrome that we're doing what we're doing, and we have that guilt in our minds that like, why do I have the things that I have? Why do I have what I am? She's like, if you're doing it and you're doing it successfully, then you're supposed to be there. Just fake it. Keep faking it. Keep going. And eventually you're going to catch up and be like, I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Then there was another instance where when I had first moved to Texas, and I kind of gotten out of that mindset, but I was kind of like, just kind of down on myself, and was like, I'm the ish. I can do whatever. I don't need people's help, whatever. Listening to other people, another guy had told me that another manager that we had that was above us was basically like a jerk and blah, 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 blah. And I was out on the floor doing something, like just straightening some crap up or whatever. And the guy came up to me and he was telling me something. And I had the guy that had told me that certain gentleman wasn't anything in my mind, just like, oh, don't listen to him. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And then the same guy on the other side was basically like, hey man, I'm trying to show you something, like whatever. And it was so weird. It was like a lightning bolt just clicked in my brain. And I was like, hey, this dude doesn't have to be showing me anything. Like this dude's higher than me. Like he makes more than me. I report to this guy. So I was like, the fact that he's taking the time out of his day to show me something, like I can either take it or not receive it, but he doesn't have to do that. Like he could just sit up here and let me fail and just like watch from the background and be like, this dude sucks. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, that, and like, I'm sure you realized at that moment that you were having that exchange with this guy, but you had in the back of your head a perspective of him that was not
Someone else,
yours.
of someone else. Thank you.
Yeah, it was
Why am I
someone
letting
else's
someone else?
perspective.
Yeah. Why am I letting someone else destroy my chances to move forward in life? Like I need to
Exactly.
move on my own consciousness.
Yes.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that was that realization. Basically, it happened right then and there, and I was like, yeah. Why am I like no? Like yeah. Thank you, dude.
So much of this is conditioning. Like
Yeah.
so much of life, I think, is conditioning.
Seriously.
Like we have these experiences or ideas rather that are put in our mind from a young age, whether that be from a family member or a teacher at school or someone who had influence on us. And it's like we just assimilate their ideals instead of sometimes like asking ourselves consciously, like, is this thought right?
Yeah.
Like, is this really the way it is? Or is my perspective of this situation or this person being skewed by something that someone else said?
No, you're totally
or did?
right. You're totally right.
Yeah.
I think honestly, a lot of times, and I was talking to my wife about this recently too. I think a lot of times as an adult, what we're really doing is we're unlearning a lot of like like our past experiences. I feel like as you get older and you become more successful as an adult, you're basically unlearning a lot of the crap that you learned as a child that helped you cope through a lot of the crap that you were going through. And that's essentially how like, that's essentially I feel like one of the marks of defining success when you can realize that the crap that you're doing is dysfunctional and then say like I'm going to actively choose not to do it. So you've actively chose to like unteach yourself or untether yourself from that negative action or whatever it is, that action that might have helped you in whatever situation you were going through 10, 20, 30 years ago, but right now it's not serving you.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Because that action or that thing was probably a coping mechanism for something.
For something.
And you don't need it anymore.
You don't need it anymore. Exactly. So you have to unlearn that coping mechanism because that's what's keeping you held back.
Yes.
Yep.
Man, and you could unpack the hell out of that because you know there's like people are scared of what's not familiar.
Yeah.
And so those actions or ideas or ways of doing things are comfortable because they're familiar. And so stepping outside of that and trying something new and acting a different way and becoming the person that you actually want to become is scary, right? You have that like wall of fear. And so I think a lot of people get hung up on that and they're like, well, you know, I can't break through that because that's not me or because I'm scared or what if I fail or whatever it is. One thing that is kind of interesting, I had a big problem internally. Like in the last, let's say 10 years, I've had, you know, like few job changes and other big changes in my life. And this most recent one was when my wife and I moved from the Panhandle, you know, back downstate, and I was farming with my father-in-law, got out of that and decided to get into real estate. And so I had gone from film work, which is like, you know, something not a lot of people get to do.
Yeah, that's what I was like. That's awesome.
You know, super fun, exciting. But we were wore out on traveling, living out of a suitcase, and like we were wanting to put down roots. And so, you know, my father-in-law is a farmer. We were thinking we want to move back to the Panhandle to be close to family. And, you know, on our wedding night, he asked me if I wanted to learn the business. And so I was like, yeah, you know, and I'm that type of personality that, you know, I saw it as an opportunity. And I kind of, you know, saw the potential in him, you know, training me and teaching me the business, and maybe one day I could buy it from him, or, you know, keep the legacy going.
Yeah, anything.
Because it's a family farm.
Totally.
And so I wanted to do it, and I worked really hard at it, and you know, learned a lot, really picked it up, and I was operating, I was like self-sustaining, but I was still learning things every day, and I really enjoyed it. And then, you know, as time went on, I saw more and more things that I didn't like about it, or I would see or think rather about other things outside of farming that I was like, you know, I kind of wish I was doing that, you know, and so I kind of felt called outside of it, and inevitably, you know, you sit on a thought like that long enough, and you're gonna have to act on it.
You have to act on it.
So my wife and I had like a conversation one night, and I basically I told her, I was like, I love this, but I also don't think it's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, totally.
And you know, I think we need to talk about changing. That whole process took like a year. just talking about it, trying to figure out what we were going to do, what the strategy was. Cause I
Right.
mean, you can't just
No.
give up your life and
Yeah.
like, especially when you're married and you have that obligation, that responsibility of like caring for someone and
definitely.
it's a partnership. But getting back to my point, it was nerve wracking for me socially, thinking like, what are people going to think of me having gone from film to farming and now to real estate? And I was like, man, like what are people going to say? They're going to be like, oh,
Yeah.
Craig, you know, can't make up his mind or bounces back and forth or, you know, whatever. And so I was super self-conscious about it for a while. And then finally something just clicked and I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what anyone else says or thinks, or
Goddamn
I
matter.
could give two shits.
Does not matter.
The fact of the matter is, I decided that this is what I want to do.
You decided.
Exactly. And, you know, so like I'm reminded of a quote from Earl Nightingale: a success is the person who decides what they want to do and then they go do it.
Yeah.
And even if you haven't reached your goals yet, if you're headed in that direction, down the path that you decided to go,
Yeah.
you are a success.
Right.
You're doing what you wanted to do.
If you have 10 different careers, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As long as you're happy, that's all that matters.
Yes.
You literally get 100 at the max. At the max, you get 120 years on a planet that's 4 billion years old.
Yeah.
What does it matter?
Yeah.
Like that, you better be happy. You better be happy.
It's about happiness, right?
It literally is. It's about what makes you happy.
Well, I would argue that it's more than happiness. I think it's fulfillment.
Yeah, that too. That too. It's honestly fulfilling yourself. And I had a coach. I had my golf coach, and one of the things that he told us, graduating from high school, he said, the last thing you want is to look up in 20 years and say, damn it, I should have done this.
Oh yeah.
That's the last thing. He's like, that's the last thing you want to do. He's like, that's the last thing you want is to look up in 20 years and say, damn it, I should have done this. And that kind of also was one of the things I took to heart and was like, I don't want to have regrets. So if I feel like I need to do something, then I'm going to do it. And then, and also another thing too, like with the job with HEB, I told them, like, or I told my wife, I was like, the reason why I knew I had to leave was because it was coming to affect home. It was starting to affect home. And that's like, I'm not ever going to do anything that's going to affect my kids. So I was like, I can't be here anymore. I can't do this anymore. I'd rather do anything else other than this.
Yeah.
So that's happiness. It's,
Yeah.
And fulfillment.
Yeah. And so I think it's really cool. So I love what you've done, you know, and your mindset, man, I really like, we're on the same frequency here.
Trying, man.
I love it. I love it. I think it's just crucial for people to, you know, this problem's so pervasive with social media, especially for women. I mean, it's a thing for men too, but I think women are even more affected by the world or the idea of comparison, you know, between these people, like you said, that are posting fake selfies by palm trees to say they're in Hawaii when they're really in fucking, you know.
Dude, the body image is so messed up right now. And it's been messed up. And it's been messed up before social media.
Catfish filters.
Well, that, and then just the fact that, like, you know, the standard of beauty, like in a magazine, like the standard of what a model should look like that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like no normal person looks like the standard of what, like the beauty standard of what the world is like, oh, this is what you should look like. No, you shouldn't. You should be happy in whatever skin you're in.
Yes.
Because that's where you are. That's who you are. Meet yourself at where you are right now and then make improvements on that person.
100%. Well, and another thing is understanding that at the end of the day, you are you're more than your body.
Yeah.
You're a spiritual being,
Yes.
right? Like, so you are your heart and soul and mind. And this just happens to be the instrument that you're interacting with the world.
Yeah.
You know, it's carrying you through this world, but it is not you and you are not it.
Yeah.
You know,
You're exactly right.
but I also think it's important that people understand that if you are like unhealthy or like overweight, those things can be fixed. Like you can lose weight and become more healthy. Like I had a lot of issues when I was overweight. I was about 300 pounds and I had really bad allergies. I had a wheezing thing and, you know, it's like all these weird little random things. And they all went away when I started losing weight.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for people to understand that they can take control of those things.
I mean, your body, like it's the saying that your body is your temple, but it doesn't have to be anything in that sense. It's just a matter of you can directly affect your circumstances. It doesn't matter how in chains you are. It doesn't matter how imprisoned you are. You can directly affect this. You can affect the mind, you can affect the body. We have come to find that you can get in perfect shape just do push-ups, sit-ups, exercises that are all non heavyweight oriented. You can do complete body exercises. You can also expand your mind just through meditation and just understanding the aspects of life. It doesn't matter how imprisoned you are. People in solitary confinement have done it for years. So it's like, it's all a matter of how mentally tough you are. Can you exchange and can you change your existence? Because this is all up to your control.
Yeah. Well, and so you remind me of something I heard Alan Watts say in one of his lectures. Do you follow him at all or listen to? Okay. So I think he was really big around if I'm not mistaken, like the 60s and 70s. But he pops up a lot on my YouTube reels and stuff. And one of the things he was saying was that in order to figure out who you are and to not continue identifying yourself by how everyone else sees you is to go off into the forest by yourself for a period of time. And he said, that solitude will cause you to start thinking in a different way. You start thinking about yourself. You start thinking about things you want, about life. You contemplate all of these ideas.
Yeah.
And then you're able to figure out what path you take from there.
Yeah.
And I love that. I was listening to it and I was thinking about me while I was farming because granted, like I would go home to my wife and I, had my wife's family that I'm very close with.
Yeah.
I had all of them around me. But when I was farming, sometimes I would be in the middle of literally nowhere.
Yeah.
I would be out there on the tractor all day and not see a single car drive by. And it was those times where I would be out by myself, where I'm thinking or I'm listening to these different messages, like, the type of stuff we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
Discovering who you are, who is self, and
Yeah.
things like that. And I would have these like epiphanies and these realizations that like I am in control of my life.
Yeah.
And I can decide how I want things to be. And all I have to do is just create it.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest realizations was that your life is the sum total of the decisions that you've made up until this point.
Yeah. Exactly right.
Whether that's a decision about which direction to take, which road to take,
Yeah.
or how to handle a situation or
Huge.
how to respond.
Huge.
Every decision
Yeah.
cumulatively makes you who you are.
Who you are. Yeah.
And so in my mind, I was connecting those dots, just saying that was my forest.
Yeah.
Like that 2 years of time of being by myself so much gave me the opportunity to explore my inner self
Yeah.
and find out who I really want to be.
Yeah.
And then one of the things that I think is so fantastic is the power of the human mind to literally create the person that you want to be.
Yeah. Yes.
So-
You speak intentions to it.
Yes.
Speak intentions
Yeah.
to it, and you become that person.
Yes.
Truly. Yeah. You were speaking words to power, because I went through a similar year, like a whole year, where I was by myself, and it wasn't even so much like what it was. I had screwed around in college, messed up, and all my friends, literally my entire friend group, had graduated a year before me. So I had to stay in college for a whole year, and all my friends had moved away. And this was when I really went through the whole like social media is a highlight reel. Like, you need to stop comparing yourself, because all my friends moved away. Everybody went and started their careers. Everybody started getting jobs. Everybody was like working and doing their thing. And I was still in school. I was going to school, going to like taking like, I think it was like only needed 3 classes. So I was literally only taking like 3 classes, and I was coming home and sitting home in my apartment all day long by myself, all day by myself. So it was like that realization of like, A, I need to stop comparing myself to other people because this is my marathon. And B, do I really like the person that I'm sitting in this apartment with by myself with every day?
Yeah.
Like, because I'm thinking, I'm with this person every day. So I'm thinking, and it's just me. I'm not hearing any words. I'm not hearing anybody talk to me. I'm just by myself. So it was really just me like, I don't really like this person, Like, what can I change about this person that'll make me like this person? What will make me happy to look at myself in the mirror and give myself a high five? Like, Mel Robbins is huge to me.
Yeah,
Because it's like
dude, she's
the high five rule. Like, I do that every morning.
Yeah.
Or I do a fist bump, but I mean, every morning.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a progression thing, because I've been doing that since college, and that's been 6-7 years ago. But it was a slow thing of me changing and becoming the person that I was actually comfortable looking at myself for longer than 30 seconds in the mirror. So
That's
I started
hard.
So I started looking at myself in the mirror And I would look at myself, and the longer that I could look at myself and like self-analyze myself and get to the point where now I can just stare at myself and just stare at myself like a weirdo. But every morning I look
Do you
up.
smile?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every morning I look at myself. Every morning I get up, I brush my teeth. I look at myself in the mirror for 30 seconds, smiling at myself, and then at the end of the 30 seconds, I fist pound myself, and that's my morning every morning.
Nice.
And that's just for me to like know I'm okay, that I'm proud of who I am in this moment. And then I know when I have an issue looking at myself and I have to look away, that something happened, that I need to
Something's going
reevaluate.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I need to reevaluate. But
100%.
I know who I am, and I am very confident in who I am. So
Yep.
it doesn't bother me what other people think. I don't
Yeah.
care.
I love that.
Yeah.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah.
I do a similar thing. I kind of am interested to try out what you're saying. You know, you just take 30 seconds, look at yourself,
Yeah.
give yourself a little fist bump. But if I'm ever feeling down, one of the things that I'll do, I read something a long time ago that said, if you were to stand in and look in the mirror and smile at yourself for 2 minutes, that has the same effect to your biochemistry that Valium does.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, okay. And so if I was feeling bummed out or down about something, you stand and look in the mirror, you smile at yourself, and you feel that like you can't help but start laughing when you're sitting there smiling at yourself. And you're like, what the fuck am I doing? This is ridiculous.
Real talk, though.
But and then it just breaks you out. It's like a pattern interrupt. You just start laughing and you're like, okay, what's going on? And your brain starts working and you're like, okay, this is the problem. How do I solve it? And you just go after it.
Yeah, just a high five and the fist bump is enough to release endorphins.
Yeah.
Just a high five and a fist bump is enough to release endorphins in your brain. Because I mean, if you think about it, like when have you ever gave a negative high five? Like when have you ever gave somebody a high five for something that's wrong? That's how Mel Robbins explains it. She's like, when have you ever given someone a high five for anything that's been bad?
That's a good
So she's like, so you should be giving yourself a high five every morning to congratulate yourself, to tell yourself like, hey, I value you.
I love that.
And that releases those endorphins of I'm valued.
Man, Mel Robbins is great.
Oh, she's amazing.
She does that other thing. I think her first book was the I forget the title of it, but the idea was it's the 5-second.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved that because the idea, and I'm super big on this, and I think she was actually a big reason that I am like this.
Yeah.
But I will, when something needs to be done, I'm not the kind of person where I'm like, okay, I'll go like sit down and chill for 15 minutes and then I'll do it. Or or like I'll get that after this. If something in my head registers as needing to be done, I just do it.
Yeah.
And it's a habit that annoys the hell out of my wife, drives her fucking crazy. Because I like get home and it's been a long day and she's been working and we like both get home at like 8 o'clock. And then I like start doing dishes, feed the dogs. Like I'm doing all these chores and she'll be like kind of hanging out like, you want to take a break? Like,
Chill.
I'm like, I'm just going to get this done and then I'll chill.
Yeah.
But her rule about when there's something that you don't want to do, or if you're trying to get out of bed, you just do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you do it.
Get up. Yep.
You just do it.
It's huge.
Man, I feel like Shia LaBeouf. Do it.
I swear. Are you serious? It's huge. It works.
It
though.
is,
It really
yeah.
does work. It works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. The 5-second rule it's huge. I tell anybody to go listen to her.
Yeah.
Listen or read. I mean, honestly, I like audiobooks more than anything because we're so busy now in 2022. But honestly, yeah, anything that helps.
Speaking of audiobooks, have you heard of an app called Blinkist? Dude, check it out. It's pretty sick.
Okay.
If you like stuff like Mel Robbins, who else, like Andrew Huberman, Tony Robbins, like all of the people in the self-development space, they have books. And so Blinkist is all nonfiction. They've got a bunch of different categories, but one of the biggest and the one that I spend a lot of time in is the self-development side of things and psychology. And the idea is they take these 10 or 11 minute blinks and it's like a full recap of either all of the chapters or of the sections of the book. They talk about the core ideas that are conveyed by the author, and it's 10 or 11 minutes. So if you don't have time to listen to the whole book, or what I do is sometimes there's a book that I've read or listened to, but I like the key points. And I'm also a big believer that repetition is the mother of all learning.
Yes.
And so you have to constantly hear these messages and hear these things regularly. And it's a big part of my morning routine. But Blinkist is cool because I can revisit these books and get the outline or the snapshot of what the message is from the author, and it only takes 10 minutes.
That's crazy. Definitely. I want to get that.
Check it out.
I would love it.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Huge, dude. Yes,
So,
definitely.
man, it's been pretty cool having you out.
Yeah, I
I
appreciate
know
y'all.
we're crawling up on an hour.
No, I appreciate y'all.
So, but dude, we were talking when we were first starting. I didn't realize we were rolling, but we were talking about that stabbing
Oh yeah,
at the
dude, that
freaking
was
89ers
crazy.
parade. And so it's wild. I didn't realize you were there for that. But
Yeah.
we were sitting there last night. I was actually getting ready for bed. My wife saw the article on Facebook
Mhm.
and we started talking about it. We know the guy whose family got stabbed.
What?
Yes. And he, he's a real estate guy. He's kind of a developer,
Jeez.
investor. So he owns a bunch of buildings downtown. And it was kind of surreal. It was a little weird. We've had a lot of interaction with him over the years because if we were shooting in Guthrie, we would stay at his hotel,
Yeah, for sure.
or he would help us out in different ways. We would consult with him a lot. But man, it sounds like I guess this guy broke into his house. Him and his wife and his son were there, and the guy ended up stabbing all three of them. The son got stabbed 3 times. Once it punctured his lung.
Dude.
And then the guy whose house it was allegedly chased the dude outside into the street at the end of the parade, right? And had pepper spray, and that's how all the pepper spray stuff happened. But here's something I thought was funny, is not funny, but it kind of
wild.
annoyed me because the dude that broke into the house was a black guy.
Uh-huh.
And that he was getting tackled by the police and security and everything, and people were posting these videos saying like, "This is so sad," like George Floyd,
Oh hell no,
and
you
all this.
deserved it, my
And
guy.
I'm like,
Oh,
"Are
hell
you
no.
fucking kidding
Hell
me?"
no, you deserved
Dude
it, my dude.
broke
Just
into a
stabbed
guy's
three
house
people.
and stabbed 3
I don't
people,
care.
and you're gonna say like, "This is so
Hell no.
sad." I'm like, "What the
Hell
fuck is
no,
going
dude.
on, man?"
You deserve what you get out of this life. If you didn't do anything and something happens to you, then for sure, hashtag it all day long.
Yeah.
But if you are doing something that reserves and you getting beat up, get beat up.
Yeah,
You
and he
deserve
didn't
it.
even get beat
Oh,
up. They
come
just
on,
pinned him
dude.
to the
They
ground and
should've.
handcuffed
They
him.
should've.
But I was like, "What the
Less
what
than I
the
would
hell's
have
going
done.
on?"
Golly, what the heck?
But honestly, my thoughts and prayers go out to this guy and
For
his family.
sure.
That's crazy. I couldn't imagine someone coming into our house and I don't know what the motive was. That's like I
That's
think about this
weird.
thing and I'm
That's
like,
crazy.
yeah, was like what was the family originally out of the house for the parade and this guy thought, "Oh, I'll break in and steal some stuff."
Fucking parade going on, my guy. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know. But also, it gave me an idea for a script for a series. I've been sitting thinking about this all morning, and so I'll go ahead and tell you
Yeah, tell me, tell me.
in a
No, tell me,
nutshell. In a
please. I wanna
nutshell.
know.
So, have you watched Ozark?
Some of it. My wife is really into it though.
Okay,
Some of it, yeah.
I love it. Such a
Yeah.
good show. But I was thinking like, okay, what if there was this regular kind of guy,
Mhm.
and he had the idea for a TV show, for a series.
Mhm.
And so he writes this script, and I'm thinking of this guy, Taylor Sheridan, that started Yellowstone.
Mhm.
He was like a rancher guy and wrote this idea, and it turned into Yellowstone and 1883, and now the one that Jen's working on, Tulsa King.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, okay, premise is this regular dude has an idea to write a series about let's say like a rodeo guy in Oklahoma who is like also a drug kingpin or like crime kingpin, something like that. Oh, wait, no. Sorry, got to back up. He has a different idea, writes the story, it gets big, he gets famous, ends up moving to LA, kind of starts living the life,
Mhm.
right? And so and then he meets this woman, they get married, fall in love quick, they end up having a baby, and when the baby's still young, let's say less than a year, the wife gets in an accident one night and they both die.
Mhm.
He's devastated, and he's like, you know what? I've got to get out of Hollywood. I need to get out of LA.
Mhm.
And he's got this idea to write a series about this rodeo kingpin in Oklahoma. And so he actually moves himself to Oklahoma
Mhm.
to start like studying and planning and writing this series.
Yeah.
And in the process of him doing all of this like investigation and interviewing and everything to get ready to write the series,
Mhm.
he meets this guy from Guthrie, Oklahoma, who's a big rodeo guy. and big into like roping and barrel raising or whatever,
Yeah.
has a bunch of horses, raises horses, lots of land, all this stuff. And he kind of starts teaching this writer about the rodeo industry and the people and the terms and this and that. And the guy's just sucking it up because it's like, this is all the stuff I need for
Yeah,
the
it's everything.
series.
Yeah.
Well, then like one thing leads to another, and turns out this guy is actually a sort of rodeo drug kingpin,
Kingpin?
and he like launders money through selling horses and all this stuff, and he's like a bad dude. And then slowly or somehow the writer ends up like having to do work for him, like maybe he's got some dirt on the writer or like some sort of leverage. And the guy basically ends up living the life that he was going to write about in the series.
That's wild.
And I was thinking about like centralizing it in Guthrie, because Guthrie's like a big rodeo roping
Yeah.
kind of thing. So if any of you guys steal this idea, I swear to God.
I mean, honestly, like that's really cool because you could even use like multiple aspects of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And then it would like basically give that like realistic, like that realism of it. Yeah.
100%.
Sick.
And you make it kind of like Ozarks, where you're actually shooting it in parts of Guthrie. Like
yeah.
you got downtown Guthrie, you got the Lazy E Arena, you've got all these big equine houses,
That's crazy. That'd
Yeah.
be
So I
dope.
thought it'd be kind of fun. It would be very
so cool.
Ozarks, like
That'd be
this
so
guy,
cool.
super smart, writer for Hollywood, but he gets roped into all this shit.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry,
That'd be dope.
that's how my mind
No,
works.
I
I
think
hear
that'd
about a
be
tragic
dope.
accident,
And you're like,
I'm like,
I'm
oh,
writing
yeah,
shit.
I can write.
Hey man, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Necessity is born out of it. I'm
Right?
telling you. That's fun. That's not
But
bad.
RJ, man, I gotta say thank you.
Oh, I appreciate you. Sorry.
Boom.
Appreciate you.
I really appreciate you coming out,
appreciate
dude.
you, dude.
It was nice
All
to
day.
catch up with you. Nice
All
to
day.
chat.
Anytime.
All right, man. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next one.